12 stones. I'm back.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Happy Sabbath, the Shor Shabbat. Blessed to be before you again. All praise to the Most High. Sorry I'm a little late. Been working on my tardiness. If y'all was in class last night, was up all night. So, you know, your boy's off to a late start, but nevertheless, we gonna do what we gotta do. I'm gonna let some people come in, kind of stall a little bit, get this music rolling real quick. And we're gonna get to it. Let's see where we at. Slovakia. Here we go. Y'all bear with me 1 minute. Let's see. Here we go. Tavon Shalom Mat. Good to see you, King of Shor Shabbat. This shot, my bro, was good. A Shor Shabbat, King. Let's get this party started. Here we go. So this is Hearken by Hezekiah on this Freedom Wins 5 EP. Let's go.
Freedom wins. He sending prophets, I hope that you hearken. We seeing wolves, I'll be judging the earth. Look at the weather, is worse. The woman travailing, she bringing salvation of birth. The covenant back, get rid of the curse. When you mention Lord, don't forget the mighty Redeemer. He got us right out of Egypt. I'm a believer, but we need you. If we don't got our faith, we can't please you. It's gonna come with a chip if it sees us. Not your life, better leave it. Surrounding Jerusalem, wilderness time. Babylon falling is pilgrimage time. Let go the winds, I'm selling what's mine. Who really keeping his will on their mind? Oh, 1 wall, 2 walls, 3 walls. Choose life, don't lose your soul. Destruction gon' come from the north. He turning nations against her. Raphael opened the censor. Prayers went up, he remembered. Secret place we need to enter. Look at the tribes and race. Edom, you won't get away. Remember the God of the slaves. The laws is not done away. Got faith, but still gon' obey. Earthquakes is starting with savage. Y'all visitation is it, he gon' teach him a lesson. Babylon falling, exit. Flee from the north, if he would, you gon' get some protection. Oppressing his people, now he bout to step on it. Babylon falling, he put an X on it. He wanted dancing it, nobody left on it. All of these plays, he make a mess on it. Jerusalem out, was staking up heaven. He healing the land, cause they made a mess on it. Flee to the wilderness, back in them borders, back to our land, cause he put a yes on it. He sending prophet, out the prophet. Judgment coming, ain't nobody stop it. Ain't no running, remember your market. Set them prophets who ain't wanna hearken, approaching the day of the swarm. Tribulation at the door. Get on the ark, get on board. When they get dark, if you're wrong, he sending prophet, out the prophet. Judgment coming, ain't nobody stop it. Ain't no running, remember your market. Set them prophets who ain't wanna hearken, approaching the day of the swarm. Tribulation at the door. Get on the ark, get on board. When they get dark, if you're wrong.
All praises to the Most High. All praises to the Most High. So we gonna get back to where we left off at last week. Um, so if y'all was with us last week, we ended off with affirming the creation order. So we ended in First Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 8 through 9, right? And we read verses 8 through 9, and went over the teaching point that head coverings is a silent sermon. It preaches without words, right? It shows that a woman accepts the Most High's design, that she honors man's headship, and respects the order of heaven and earth, right? The divine order that the Heavenly Father placed, right? So that head covering has a supernatural meaning behind it, right? So we're gonna start off with the Salakia. No, we ended it. Women must remain silent in church leadership. That's what we left off at. So now we in part 5. Picking up from last week, we're in part 5 now. So, brothers and sisters, y'all can title this part 5 the spiritual meaning behind the head covering, right? The spiritual meaning behind head covering. So let me share my screen, and we're gonna go back to First Corinthians 11 and 3, and we're gonna touch on this, right? We are going to touch on this. It's a method behind the madness, family. That's one thing I want y'all to understand, that it is a method behind the madness. There's a reason that we teach what we teach, right? And the way that we see things, the way that we see things, right? So we're gonna read First Corinthians 11 and verse 3, and it reads thus: "But I will have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God." Right? So the woman wears the head covering as an open declaration that she accepts God's chain of authority. Right? So the divine order is God, Hamashiach, man, woman, and children. Right? So that head covering shows her submission, not only to man, but ultimately to Christ and the Most High. Right? Because if you're dishonoring one, you're dishonoring the other, and so on and so forth. So when you don't wear that, it shows a disrespect toward Christ and the Most High God. Right? And we're going to keep on. Let's jump down to verse 5. Let's go to verse 5. And we're going to read through 6. All right, so this is First Corinthians 11 and 5. And it reads, "But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoreth her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven." Right, verse 6. "For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered." Right? So an uncovered head is open rebellion against the creation order. It shames her husband, it shames Christ, and it shames God. Paul even compares it to being shaven bald, a sign of deep shame in Israelite culture. Right? So again, all these things are playing a role in the head covering and why the head covering for a sister is so important. Right? Now we're going to jump to verse 10. And we're going to get the supernatural reasoning behind the head covering for a sister. Right? So this is First Corinthians 11 and 10. It says, "For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels." Right? So what does that mean? The head covering is not just a physical garment, it is a spiritual protection. Right? This is a signal to the heavenly realm that this woman is covered by God's authority, and it guards her against being targeted by spiritual rebellion or deception. So what's important to understand here is that it was a ancient thought form of the ancient Israelites. You can see this in the works of Josephus in his special books, right? That they believed in the way that we break down Genesis 6, 1 and 2 a little bit differently. They believed in giants walking in the earth that were made by angelic entities coming into human entities, right? So, and this is a thought form that prevailed throughout antiquity, right? And it made its way into the Greeks as well, which of course we were Hellenized by. So this thought form was already within our people, that angels would come down and possess these women or place spirits on them due to them not being covered. That head covering was a representation of your submission not only to God, but to Christ and to your husband, which would signal or ward off negative spirits, right? So when we see those fallen angels, this is why you have books that come about like Enoch, because this thought form was prevalent in the Jewish community, and it led brothers to make books about it. Even though we see now through the scriptures and through the Holy Spirit that that isn't the case, but nevertheless, this was an ancient thought form. Hence why Paul is teaching this in the book of Corinthians for the woman to have a head covering, because again, it was a signal to ward off negative spirits from attaching themselves to you. Right? So now let's jump back to verse 8. And we're going to read through verse 9. Right? So this is First Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 8. And it reads, "For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man." Verse 9. "Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man." Right? So in summary of this head covering, the physical and supernatural reasoning for it, right? This head covering is a silent teaching. It's a representation of the light that is within you as a woman, right? It's a sermon, so to say, without speaking. It's being that light, walking in that light. It's a signal that, one, you accept the Most High's design. Two, you respect and honor your husband's headship and respect the order of heaven and earth. Right? So this is a physical and supernatural signal that you are in alignment with the law, statutes, and commandments and teachings of the Most High God. Right? So understanding these things, this is why we teach so heavily for the sisters to wear the head coverings, to cover your heads, right? Because not only is it a physical representation and it's a part of our culture, but two, there's a supernatural ramification for not doing so, right? So now moving into why women need male leadership. Why is it important that women have male leadership, right? Let's go to the book of First Timothy chapter 2. Well, the First Timothy chapter 2 and verse 13. Right, this First Timothy chapter 2 and verse 13, it reads, "For Adam was first formed, then Eve." Right, if you tuned in last night to the main channel where we went into the Lilith and God the Mother doctrine, right, that doctrine is rooted and founded in paganism, that there was a woman prior to Eve that rebelled against God and Adam and just did her own thing, right? But the scriptures tell a different story. It teaches a different narrative, right? So it was Adam made first, and then it was Eve from Adam. Verse 14, "And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression," right? So the point is that Eve was deceived first. Eve in her innocence was spiritually vulnerable and was deceived by the serpent. Adam sinned knowingly, but Eve sinned through spiritual confusion and emotional manipulation. Thus, even after salvation, a woman must still walk under male guidance and authority to remain properly ordered and protected. Right? Again, when we look at the breath of life that was breathed into the nostrils of Adam, through the precepts, we understand that that was actually the law, statutes, and commandments. That was wisdom being imparted unto Adam. The Most High did not breathe the breath of life into Eve. Adam was commanded to teach her. Right? So again, Adam sinned knowingly, but Eve was deceived. Thus said the Holy Scripture. So this is why it is important for women to have male leadership, to guide them and to protect them. And this goes hand in hand with the head covering. That head covering symbolizes that you are under righteous male headship, right? And that you submit to a righteous spiritual man. That is protection, right? That's why the scripture says, "I right to be continually with the godly man, one that you knoweth to keep the commandments of God." It's to protect you. You need that protection and that guidance to avoid from falling into emotional manipulation, right? So this is why it's very, very important for women to have male leadership, whether that be your father, your husband, or being a part of a church, right? And having a spiritual father to watch over your soul, right? And it's important to understand that God created this order in the garden. This order has been in place from the very beginning. Right, let's go to Genesis chapter 3 and verse 16. So this isn't something new that just came out of the blue when we get to the New Testament. This is something that has been in place since the very beginning of time when God put man and woman on this earth. Right, so this is Genesis 3 and 16. It reads, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Right? So after Eve's transgression, the Most High did not abolish male leadership. He strengthened it. Right? He commanded that the woman's desire, her dependence, or her longing would be toward her husband, and that he would rule over her. Now, important note, this ruling is not tyranny. I'm going to say that again. The way a man is to rule over his woman is not like a tyrant. Let's get the definition of tyrant. Right, let me show y'all this. This is the Merriam-Webster dictionary, right? A tyrant, a noun, which is a person, place, or a thing, right? A tyrant, an absolute ruler, unrestrained by law or constitution. The second one, a ruler who exercises absolute power oppressively or brutally. So you have some brothers who use Genesis 3 and 16 to whoop on their women, to keep them from, keep food from them, keep money from them, keep resources from their woman, withhold sex from their women. That is tyranny. That is tyranny. Brothers who overly verbally abusive. That is tyranny. That is not the design that God set up in place. Right? Check out the last lesson where I went into that. Right? The man is not to rule over his woman oppressively, but to treat her as a treasure, something that is needed to be nurtured, nourished, and protected. Right? Two totally different things. So again, this rulership is not tyranny. It is a protection, guidance, and spiritual covering. Right? So a man is supposed to rule over his woman by protecting her, guiding her, and spiritually covering her. Right? Not tyranny. Right? So another key point is that rebellion against headship is a rebellion against God. Right? So when you feel that rebellious spirit coming upon you, just understand that you're not just rebelling against your husband, you're rebelling against God as well, because you're going outside of the divine order that God set in place. Key point, God set that in place. Man did not do that. God set it up. Right, let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 23. It's 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 23. And it reads, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness as is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. Right? So when women reject the covering of their husbands, elders, and righteous leaders, they're not rebelling against men. They are rebelling against the Most High. A rebellion is likened to witchcraft, spiritual treason. That's something that you got to keep at the forefront of your mind. When you feel that rebellious spirit, just understand that's just like being a witch. That's how the Bible describes it. Right? And we know what the Bible says about witches. Suffer not a witch to live. Let me get that. Go to the book of Exodus. '18. It's Exodus 22:18. It says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Witchcraft is a sin punishable by death according to the Bible. So being rebellious is a sin unto death. Just to make it clear, just so you understand, sisters. So the head covering and male leadership are protection, not oppression. Rejecting them leaves a woman spiritually exposed, just as Eve was in the garden. So rejecting male leadership is like having a city that's without walls. Anyone can come and conquer the city. Anything can come in and conquer the city. You understand? Imagine being in a prison without the jail bars and all of the criminals are just running loose and free in the jail. That's like living without male leadership. You're going to be overtaken by whatever it is. So this is why it is spiritually important to have male leadership, right? So now moving into part 7 of this, there's a danger that comes with you all being out of order and being rebellious. It's dangerous, right? It's not beneficial to your life, right? Let's go to Sirach 25:13. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Okay, Khan, Salaki. Right, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 13. Sirach 25 and verse 13. Right, this Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 and verse 13. It says, "Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman." Right? Sirach is teaching that it's better to get a terminal illness than to be around a wicked woman. That's powerful. And that's something that you have to think about when you're thinking about your ways as a sister or a biblical woman in this truth, right? Are you this rebellious woman that's a wickedness above a wickedness of a plague of the mind or the body? It's something you have to think about. Let's go to verse 16. Right, verse 16. "I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman." Right? And we're going to jump down to verse 19. Actually, we're just going to read all the way through, right? Verse 17, "The wickedness of a woman changeth her face, and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. Her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth it, shall sigh bitterly. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. As the climbing up a sandy way is the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. A wicked woman abateth the courage, maketh an heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die." Right? So what's important to understand here is that the scriptures are speaking unapologetically about the wickedness of woman and what it can bring and the destruction it can cause. Right? Sirach is saying a wicked woman is more destructive than a sickness, a plague, a bubonic plague. Her rebellion causes chaos in her home, the church, and the nation. And again, it was through a woman's rebellion, Eve specifically, that death entered into the world. Thus, a woman out of order is not just a personal problem, she is a spiritual and national threat. So you can look at Shalom, sis. You can look at woman's wickedness as pretty much being a nuclear bomb. It can destroy an entire nation. And we can see that specifically within the black community today, with the way that our men are raised and the type of men that are brought up through these women, and the torture and torment and trauma that is caused within the community. Right? So these things are important to note, right? Also, a shameless woman is a curse. Con. So again, we got to keep these things in hindsight, looking at our history and looking at the destruction that wicked women have brought, not only in antiquity, but in today's time as well, right? So let's go to Sirach 26 and 25. Let's stay in the book of Sirach. We're going to verse, chapter 26, verse 25. All right, this is Sirach 26 and 25. It says, a shameless woman shall be counted as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear the Lord. Right? A shameless woman is a woman that's loud, brash, immodest. The scriptures liken a woman like this unto a dog, which is the lowest creature among Israel. But a shamefaced woman, a woman who is modest, reverent, and humble, is honored in the eyes of the Heavenly Father. I'm going to say that again. A shameless woman is a woman who's loud, brash, immodest, inappropriate. This woman is likened unto a dog, right? Dogs eat their own vomit. Dogs sometimes eat their own fecal matter, right? Dogs are pretty much eat anything you give to them. And this is what a shameless woman is likened unto, right? But on the opposite side, a shamefaced woman who's modest, reverent, humble, submissive, righteous, kind, she's honored in the eyes of the Most High, right? So again, you want to be a sister honorable like Sarah, not rebellious like Eve, right? Because the rebellious Eve-like women are women that lead men into death. They lead death. They bring forth death. All right, let's show that. Let's go to Proverbs 7. Let's go to Proverbs 7 and verse 10. We're going to start at verse 10. Actually, we're just going to read that chapter all the way down. We'll start at verse... Yeah, we're going to start at verse 10, right? It's Proverbs 7 and verse 10. And the reason, behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot and subtle of heart, right? A harlot is a whore. She is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house. Now is she without, now in the streets, and lieth in wait at every corner. Right? So this is where you get that popularly known term or a phrase, she for the streets. This is what Solomon is describing, a woman who's for the streets. She doesn't have a family. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She can't keep one. She can do bad all by herself. Right? And this is the behavior of that kind of woman. She always outside, right? Every time you see her on Facebook, she can't wait to be outside. Her feet abide not in her house. So she always at the club. She always at the corner. She always in the mix. Right? Reading on verse 13. So she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face said unto him, I have peace offerings with me. This day have I paid my vows. Therefore came I forth to meet thee, diligently to seek thy face, and I have found thee. I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. So she got the whole ensemble going in the crib. She bring you over there, right? When you get in the house, it smell good. It smells deliciously sweet. Right when you get to her bed, she got the finest sheets on it. It's made up real pretty. Right, the little top right corner is pulled back for easy access into the bed. All you got to do is slide in there. Right, she smell good. Right, she got her bed. She got the room spray. You know the room spray you can get off Amazon. She spray the bed with it, make the bed smell good. Everything to entice you. Right. Verse 18. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. AKA, let's do it all night. That's what you're here for, ain't it? Let's get to it. Right? For the good man is not at home. He has gone a long journey. What that's saying right there, family, is that this woman that's leading another man into her home has a man. Hence how she's a whore. She has a man who is off to work, but yet she's leading another man into her homes. And we all know about a woman like this, or have heard a story about a woman like this and the destruction that her actions brought, not only upon her, but to her man, or to the other man that she was leading about. Right, verse 19, verse 20, Salaki. He had taken a bag of money with him and will come home at the day appointed. Right, so he out getting the bag right now, but he ain't coming back home right now. So we good. Let's get to it. Verse 21. With her much fair speech, she caused him to yield. With the flattering of her lips, she forced him. This is coercion. This is coercion. The woman like this, whores normally are the coolest one. They say that all the time. Whores normally be the coolest. Hoes always cool. We say it all the time. Hoes be the coolest ones. Right? They can kick you with you. They're going to smoke with you. They're going to drink with you. They're going to give you a vibe. Y'all going to vibe out. And she going to laugh you about them draws. She going to talk you about them draws. She going to start looking at you with the seductive eyes. She got the nice lashes. They're not too big. They medium size. She flap them just right. She even got the pace of the blinking of her eyes down perfectly to seduce you. She got the lip gloss on. She's not doing too much. That is the woman with the attire of a harlot. You get me? For real. This is how these women get. Right? Verse 22, he goeth after her straightway as an ox goeth to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, right? So she done enticed you and hypnotized you to a point where you're not even thinking no more. You so enticed with the box and her vibe, you don't even know you finna get killed. You don't even know, you're not even thinking about the fact she has a man. Everybody done heard a hood story about a project broad getting another project dude. She got a man, he off somewhere doing whatever. She bring him to the house. Dude walk in, crime of passion. Then blasted both of them. Everybody dead. This is what these strange women do. This is the type of woman you don't want to be. Right? So she done enticed this brother so heavily that this brother not even thinking about the destruction that this action could bring. He's not even thinking about the error in his ways. Right? This is why Sirach gives us the wisdom not even to look upon a beautiful woman. Keep the covenant with your eyes, bro. And to never sit at all with another man's wife at the wine. You're never supposed to just be chilling with another man's wife. Ever. Because this is what happens. Right, verse 23. Till a dart strike through his liver as a bird hasted to the snare, and knoweth not that it is for his life. What is that synonymous with? Or what is that teaching right there? That man coming back, or you getting burnt, or she kill you. There's plenty of stories of women coming in, they bring them in, they put the box on them, lay them down to sleep, rob them, and kill them. These type of women are untrustworthy. These are women that you cannot trust your mind with or your heart with. Right? Verse 24, hearken unto me now, therefore, O ye children, and attend to the words of my mouth. Let not thine heart decline to her ways. Go not astray in her paths. For she hath cast down many wounded. Yea, many strong men have been slain by her. Her house is the way to hell. Hell is another word for death, going down to the chambers of death, right? So Solomon warns about the strange woman, the woman who flatters with her tongue, dresses like a harlot, and entices men into destruction. Her rebellion not only destroys herself, it destroys the man she ensnares. Exactly. And exactly. Right? This is scary. Some women literally live lives of harlots to entice men to destroy them. There's many women like that. They go out to the club, they're looking for their next target. They're predators. They're looking for the next man to destroy. Right? Not knowing that she's going to destroy herself as well. She doesn't care. That's not a concern of hers. Right? And we see this in the examples of Jezebel and Delilah. These are deadly examples of wicked women. Right? Let's go to Khan, the Lilith spirit. Spirit of rebellion. Spirit of fornication. Right? Y'all got to go back and see that lesson that we did last night, right? The Lilith spirit, the spirit of Lilith, you can call it the Jezebel spirit, you can call it the Delilah spirit. It's all one and the same. The spirit of the strange woman. It's all wickedness. Right? Let's go to 1 Kings 21 and 25. This is 1 Kings 21 and 25. It says, but there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. His wife stirred him up to be wicked in the eyes of God. That's important to understand. Jezebel was the one that was leading the kingdom through Ahab during his reign, right? And Jezebel stirred up the wickedness in Ahab and led the entire nation into idolatry. It was condemned by the Lord. Well, Israel, not the entire nation, but led Israel into idolatry and was condemned by Yahweh. We all saw how she died. She got thrown off the top of a building and her body splattered in the streets. That's how the Most High get down, right? Let's look at that again in Revelation 2 and 20, right? See what Christ had to say. Right, it's Revelation 2 and verse 20. It says, notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou hast suffered that woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. So that spirit is still very well and alive today. That spirit is still very alive and well today. And that spirit can hop on you, sisters, if you are not in order. And again, go read about the judgment of Jezebel and how the Most High killed her. We already read in Sirach that Sirach said, let the portion of a sinner fall upon a wicked woman. You don't want to be in that lane for you to crash. Right? Now let's go to Delilah. Let's look at Delilah as well. This is another wicked woman, deceitful, destroyed a man. She destroyed Samson. It's like it. Judges 16. It's we're gonna start at verse 1 and we're gonna read down, right? It's Judges chapter 16, verse 1. Then went Samson to Gaza and saw there an harlot and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither, and they compassed him in and lay wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying in the morning, when is it day? We shall kill him. And Samson lay till midnight and arose at midnight and took the doors of the gate of the city and the two posts and went away with them, bar and all. and put them upon his shoulders and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and said unto her, entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him. And we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. Right? So from the get-go, Delilah was tasked to entice Samson and to find out his weakness. Verse 6. And Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth. Thy great strength lieth, like, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then shall I be weak and be as another man. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withs which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake the withs as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire. So his strength was not known. And Delilah said unto Samson, behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if they bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak and be as another man. Delilah therefore took new ropes and bound him therewith, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there were liars in wait, abiding in the chamber. And he brake them from off his arms like a thread. And Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And she fastened it with the pin, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awaked out of his sleep and went away with the pin of the beam and with the web. And she said unto him, how canst thou say, I love thee, when thine heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death. This is the same thing that happened with Solomon. The woman was wearing him down with her words, continuously pressing him every single day, trying to figure out what his weakness was, eventually breaking him down. That he told her all his heart, and said unto her, there hath not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto the Most High from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lord of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awoke out of his sleep and said, I will go out as at the other times before, and shake myself. And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. Right? So again, family, this is important to understand. Delilah used her beauty and treachery to destroy Samson, a judge and a deliverer of Israel. This is not a regular man. Samson was not regular. Right? And this woman is memorialized to show us what not to be. To show the sisters what not to be, what type of woman not to be. Right? These women are memorialized in scripture as examples of destruction, not because they were weak, but because they abused their influence against righteousness. I hope y'all took a note of that bar right there. Right? So with all of this being said, right, from the part 1 to part 2 now, right, we've been talking about breaking down the wickedness of the woman. Now it's time to restore the woman, right? Now we're going to go into the restoration and the glory of a righteous woman, right? Let's go to Sirach 25 and verse 1. Right, this is Sirach 25 and verse 1, and it reads, in 3 things I was beautified and stood up beautiful both before God and men, the unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, and a man and a woman that agree together, right? So when a man and a woman walk together in righteousness, submission, love, and order, it is beautiful before the Most High God. Their unity glorifies the Most High and strengthens the nation. When you have a nation full of strong families, the byproduct of that is a strong nation. You're going to have strong morals, strong principles. You're going to be like a city that's built up with walls. There's going to be garrisons all around your nation. The enemy cannot infiltrate the minds of the children because the homes are strong, the teachings are strong, and this beautifies God. Unity, right? A virtuous woman also blesses her household, right? Let's go to Sirach 26 and verse 1. This Sirach 26 and verse 1. It says, blessed is the man that hath the virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be doubled. So a virtuous woman can make a man's life long. This is why I say all the time, a woman has the ability to make you or break you. And we see plenty of examples of men with righteous wives that sent them to meet the peak of their potential. They supported them to meet the peak of their potential. Ice Cube, for example, right? He kept his marriage private. But Ice Cube is one of the most successful entertainers ever, right? And his wife was there to support him. So a woman has great power when used in righteousness, right? Verse 2. A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. Right? So important characteristics of a righteous woman is that she adds peace, strength, and long life to her husband. She becomes a source of joy, a stabilizer of the home, and a builder of the future. You understand? And again, going back to Proverbs 31, a righteous woman is praised by everyone. Not just your household, but everyone praises a righteous woman because she's hard to come by. A righteous woman is as a treasure. She's rare. A virtuous woman is rare. Who can find her? Right? Let's go to verse 28, and we're going to read through verse 31. Right? So a virtuous woman is praised by all, right? Proverbs 31 and 28. Her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. So everyone praises a righteous woman. True praise does not come from outward beauty, but from the fear of Yahweh. A woman who walks humbly, faithfully, and righteously will be praised by her children, honored by her husband, and esteemed by the Most High himself. Again, a virtuous woman is praised by her children, honored by her husband, and esteemed by the Most High himself. Right? Drop a 7 in the chat if y'all still with you, bro. Trying to get through it. I know it's a lot of information, a lot of precepts. Trying to get through it for y'all. Right? All praise to the Most High, right? So, in conclusion, and my final admonition to the sisters, right? To restore our nation and to restore the true biblical purpose and divine role of the biblical woman, right? There are only two paths that you can take. You can be a wicked woman destined for destruction, or be a godly woman honored by the Most High, right? The choice is yours. So today's lesson, I hope, reminds us that woman was created for man to help build the nation in righteousness. Woman must walk in submission, in modesty, in virtue, and in the fear of the Most High. Women must be covered spiritually and physically, honoring the chain of divine authority. And those who rebel will face judgment. Those who obey will be blessed and called daughters of Sarah, builders of Zion, and mothers of a godly seed. Right? All praise to the Most High. So with that, I give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh. In the name of his son, Hamashiach Yahushua, I pray y'all were edified. This concludes part 2 of the restoration of a nation, the divine purpose and divine role of a biblical woman. I pray y'all were edified. Hope y'all took notes. Right now, we're going to be segueing into the purpose and divine role of a biblical man going into next week. I adjure y'all, if y'all haven't, to go watch the lesson that the brother Yatazan and I did last night on the Believers of the Way main channel, where I went into an analysis of Lilith, the Lilith myth, and the God the Mother doctrine, right? Because it kind of pieces all together with this series that I've been doing. So, again, I give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh B'Shem Mashiach Yahushua. And with that, I say, Shalom.
Took a step in my life, I'm standing 10 toes. Approaching trials and tribulations like a king do. Always focused and working up on my end goal. Charge it to the game before I ran into that end.
Shout out my elders working, trying to get together, making sure we do it better. Free us from this wider pressure. My people catching cases, double life he facing. Scattered all across the world, I see familiar faces. Say we all.